All right, hi everybody again. My name is Thulisile, but most of the people call me Thuli in short. So today I know we have spoken about most of the community aspect and AsyncAPI, and the last talks we'll be diving into the technical aspect. So I'll be talking about the ingredients to output the AsyncAPI generator 101. So a bit about me, I'm a community builder. I love everything open source and community building. And yeah, if you know me, I'm a very big open source fanatic. Anything about open source, you'll find me there. And I'm a Python programmer. I love Python. Also, the community behind Python is very strong. So that's one thing I love about using the program. Then finally, I'm a maintainership advocate. Because everywhere I go, I speak about maintainership and transferring knowledge from contributors to actually building a better balance between contributors and maintainers. So some of the programs that we are doing at AsyncAPI, like the maintainership program. So yeah, that's a bit about me in a nutshell. So in today's talk, I'll be talking a bit about what is AsyncAPI in the technical aspect. Then the generator, which is the main topic of the agenda. Then we'll speak about the AsyncAPI document, the template. Then we're gonna put a recipe together. You're gonna see the recipe. Then actually we'll start cooking. So if you don't like cooking, you're gonna learn to cook today. So basically, I know today I've been answering the same question over and over, what really is AsyncAPI? So AsyncAPI is a specification that helps developers to build and maintain event-driven architecture and asynchronous APIs. So if you know OpenAPI for REST APIs, then you know AsyncAPI is for event-driven and asynchronous APIs. So this is one of the screenshots that I took from the website. Some of our contributors put this work through. As I mentioned earlier about contributing in different ways in open source. So I think we've spoken enough about AsyncAPI. And if you still have any questions, you can find me at the booth. So the main thing today, I was speaking about the AsyncAPI generator. So it is one of the tooling that we have as part of the AsyncAPI ecosystem. So this tooling, the generator, helps you to generate code or your document automatically by feeding it some components to it. So this is the architecture that we have. You need an AsyncAPI document, you put it to the AsyncAPI generator, then it gives you an output of what needs to come out, whether it's an HTML, a Markdown document, Node.js. So this is what the generator does. So with that being said, before generating code, what do we need first is for the AsyncAPI document. So that is the key component that we really need. So this is how an AsyncAPI document looks like, basically. So we're currently in, I think AsyncAPI 3.0 is 1.5 years old. So this is how a typical AsyncAPI document needs to look like. So you need to have information in your document. You need to have servers, channels, operations, and components in order to really have a proper AsyncAPI document. So first things first, on your AsyncAPI document, what is the info section all about? So this is where you put like the title and the description, the version of your document. So you define what you want your document to be. You put your name, your license, your version of your document, and what your real document does as well. I see people are sleeping. Hello, hi, am I boring? Please wake up. I will ask questions later. So, sorry. So the next thing is the servers. So this is where you define your hosts your protocols. So the nice thing about AsyncAPI, we support multiple protocols from AMQP, MQTT, to also WebSockets. So that's the nice thing about it. So for your documents, you then now define your host, which is very important, the protocol that you want to use, the description of the protocols in your brokers as well, your tags and your external docs that you might want to include, of which these are optional. But what is very important that you need to have on the server section is your host and your protocol. So one thing again that you really need to have on your AsyncAPI document is the channels. This is where you define the topics and the parameters that are needed on that topic as well. So which is very important, it's key to have that because you have a section where you need to validate the AsyncAPI document. So you need to make sure that you properly put your address, your topics on the channels section. Then we now have the operations section. This is where you define the actions that are going to be taken by the channels. And this is also where you add like the operations, whether it's a send operation or receive. If you know APIs, you know the operations is send or receive, or both actually. So this is the section where in the operations that you add your actions that are going to be taken by the channels. Then finally, we have the components. So if you were by the booth, or if you had passed through the exhibition table, you saw that we were ending with JSON schema. This is the part when I mentioned, if you have spoken to me, that we work together because our open source communities are intertwined. So this is where on the component section you define your reusable components. So this is very important that in case you want to reuse your AsyncAPI document, maybe for multiple protocols or for multiple applications, this is where now you define your reusable components. So another second thing that you're going to learn today, or part of the recipe, is the template. So this is what the generator tells to build upon the AsyncAPI document that you have defined. So you have the templates that you're going to be based on your AsyncAPI document that will be fed to the AsyncAPI generator before going to the parser, then going to the render engine and the output. So this is like an example that I'll be using also as a demo of what the template looks like. So I will show you like the YAML file, the AsyncAPI document, whereby I have my send functions, my receive functions. So definitely what I wanted at the end of the document, or what I wanted to generate, was a Python client. So I had this defined document, the AsyncAPI document, and I wanted to get the class name and the description, which I defined in the info section, and the operations, the send and the receive operation. So this is a typical how a template looks like, but I will later show you the full code of the template. So another thing, like I said, the AsyncAPI document needs to be properly defined with all the components there, because once you feed it to the generator, it needs to go to the parser. The parser now validates if your AsyncAPI document has all the right code, the components that put together from info. If something is missing, when you put it in the generator, it sends back to the generator and says it's an invalid file, so it won't go through. But if your AsyncAPI document has the correct components, it validates, and then it sends down, it creates helper functions, then it sends out to the render engine, then it generates the desired documentation that you need. So the recipe, so finally, as we have mentioned that before you can generate code, you definitely need an AsyncAPI document. And from your AsyncAPI document, you need a template. And then that template feeds to the generator on what it needs to do. Then from the generator, it sends to the parser to make sure that it validates the AsyncAPI document from the template. Then if the parser finds your documents valid, it sends down to the render engine, which now generates your code based on your desired output, whether it's Markdown, Node.js, client, Python client. So yeah, you can literally do anything with the AsyncAPI document as long as you make sure that your input is correct. And yeah, let's begin cooking. So I'm gonna do a quick demo. So I've been working on this project for a year and a half. So at AsyncAPI, we didn't have like a lot of Python clients. We didn't have Python clients, so I decided to take it as a side project, like to develop a Python generator as an example, so that whenever somebody says, oh, I want to use AsyncAPI, but you have all these Node.js, blah, 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 but you don't have Python. I'm also a Python developer, so really it was bothering me, like every time people in the community were like, there's no Python example, there's no Python example. So well, I decided to, with the help of my, should I say mentor? I'm not sure. But with the help of my partner in crime, who mentored me and helped me, we decided to put this together on the demo. So this is an AsyncAPI file, as I mentioned. That is one of the key ingredients. So this is using the latest version, the V3. So what it does, it's a comment service whereby on social media, if you like a comment, it sends you a notification. If you unlike, it sends. Then it also has received components as well. That's when you have received like comments liked, it also gives you a notification. So this is the whole document, and we were using the Mosquito host. Yeah, I don't know why in tech we love to name things very funny, but yeah, we were using the Mosquito host with the MQTT protocol. Then on the side here, we now have the template, earlier version. So what I wanted, like for the generator, to generate for me based on the React SDK render engine, I wanted it to give me an output of a client service, which is in Python. So I told it, okay, I want the name of the client, I want the description, then the operations, both the send and the receive. And this is what I expected to come out on the generated document from the host and the protocols. Then what I also expected to have both operations, the send operations and the receive operations. So without me talking too much, so I'm gonna quickly run through the example. May this demo not fail me. If you know what I mean, you know, like demos, they don't always work when you need them to. So I'm trying to expand here. So right, so the first things that now is what's happening is we wrote some tests, some snapshots tests, and that makes sure that they pass. So this is part of the generation process for our clients, for our Python clients, based on what we have put from the AsyncAPI file document and the template as well. So now, as you can see, that the generation is currently in progress. Like I said, let's hope the parser validates this document and it goes through so that this demo is a success. So generation doesn't take quite a lot of time. As it says, keep calm and wait a bit. So now we have a new document that is out. So we go to the, okay, don't mind what is happening now. The most important part is that we have a generated document which is under the text project. Then, as you can see, we now have this generated file. And if you notice on our generated file, it'll give you exactly what I defined, what I wanted, that I defined in our template, whereby it shows you the protocol, the comment service, what the first service protocol does, which is comment light. The other send service, the other send operation is comment and light, and then our receive comment, our receive operation, whereby you receive how many comments you have received, how many comment views you have received. So basically, that is what you really need to generate your documents. It's as simple as you have seen. Yeah, okay. So that is what basically the AsyncAPI generator does. There is not a lot of sweat that you need to do as a developer, especially when you are building your applications. As long the first thing that you need to, as long you need to have a correct AsyncAPI document, you define your template, you generate your desired output, you get your docs or code, and then hopefully it will be your turn to do something amazing with the generator. So we have a very active repo and community behind the AsyncAPI generator. The maintainer always holds meetings every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. At 1 p.m. UTC, whereby we answer questions for people who are finding it difficult to generate, or maybe you might have some code that you didn't find. Like for instance, for me, there was hardly anything in Python. Maybe you find something, okay, you haven't developed maybe an example for which language, maybe in C or in C++. I know most of our templates are based in React. So if you find, or you find something that you want to improve in our generator as well, please come and contribute. And who knows, you might be a maintainer as well, since we are pushing for maintainership. So yeah, please do come and contribute as well. All right, thank you so much for listening to my talk and staying this long. I don't know, I'll be taking up anybody who has any questions.
Quick question.
Yes.
So I know in the slides that you showed us, that was the happy part. Everything went smoothly. So what are some challenges that you would say you face when setting this up?
Definitely the validation. Because it's not everything that will go well. Luckily, what helped me with the validation of the AsyncAPI document especially, because I just seen that I had like 2 operations, the send and the receive. Most applications I've seen only had 1, which was send. It was my first time doing a receive. So it was quite challenging to get like the AsyncAPI document validated through the parser. But what helped me was like the studio. Like we have an AsyncAPI studio that helps also to validate, because sometimes the parser will throw an error that your AsyncAPI document is not valid, but it doesn't tell you exactly where the problem is. So apart from that, also I had like a great person to really ask questions, like, okay, I'm having a struggle with validating my AsyncAPI document, what should I do? So those were some of the challenges that I did face here. Any other person with a question? Then I guess I did an amazing job, or I left people confused that they don't know what to ask. But if you are shy and you don't want to ask questions, please find me at the end of the track or at the exhibition area. I'll be happy to answer as much questions as possible. But with that being said, thank you so much for attending my talk, and yeah, I hope to still see you around. Thank you.